It's OPB Politics Now for Friday, March 19th. Police officers are not supposed to be political figures, but something has gone awry in Portland. On this week's show, we're going to explain the bizarre and disturbing events of the past few weeks, how Commissioner Joanne Hardesty got smeared, and the role Portland police, and in particular the Portland Police Union, may have played. I'm Anna Griffin, an editor at OPB.
I'm Rebecca Ellis. I cover City Hall.
Yes, you do. Rebecca, this story is complicated, so let's go linear on this one. 2 weeks ago, a woman named Evelyn Ellis called 911 to report that her car had been hit by a driver who fled the scene. She was pretty certain she knew who it was.
Yes, she was very confident. So this woman, who is a white, 46-year-old woman, was driving in southeast Portland when someone rear-ended her at an intersection and fled. And this woman was positive that the person who hit her was Commissioner Joanne Hardesty. And she later called 911 after the incident and told the dispatcher she knew Hardesty had hit her. And the police bureau released the call last week. Here's a snippet from it.
And behind me for 3 stoplights. I know it was her.
It wasn't her, but based on that call, Hardesty got listed as a suspect in the incident.
So news of this hit and run and that allegation that Hardesty was a suspect in it quickly became public. How?
So we don't know exactly, but someone with knowledge of this allegation leaked the information to conservative media and local news outlets, who then published a story with the allegation. And so all of a sudden, while this investigation was still in the earliest of stages, they hadn't even contacted Hardesty. The information was out there saying Hardesty had been listed as a suspect in a hit and run. And I should note, Hardesty is now the transportation commissioner. So this allegation came with, some extra consequences for the commissioner.
The person in charge of our roads.
Yes, indeed.
How did the police determine that it was not Joanne Hardesty driving that car?
So it became clear pretty quickly, at least to the press at first. So Hardesty held this press conference an hour after local outlets published the story with a really, really fierce denial. She said she was home when the incident took place. She doesn't even own a working car right now. So it was pretty clear pretty quick that Hardesty was not involved. And then, a few hours after this press conference, the police bureau put out a release clearing her name, saying she wasn't involved. And it turns out what happened is the incident had been captured on camera, and you can see the license plate of the car involved. And that car was registered to a 64-year-old Black woman who has since been charged, I believe.
So it turns out this was not the first time potentially damaging information, and information that was, if not inaccurate, was certainly incomplete, has been leaked to the media about Commissioner Hardesty. Remind us what happened when she went up to Vancouver to play some legal adult games recently.
Yes. So in November, there was this other negative story. So someone had tipped off some reporters that Hardesty had refused to get out of a lift she had picked up from the Elene Casino and called 911 after the driver canceled her ride. So again, like you said, the earliest version of that story was deeply unflattering and, like you said, incomplete and leaked to the media really, really fast.
So it does not take a crack investigative reporter to guess where these leaks aimed at disparaging a city commissioner who has been an outspoken proponent of more civilian oversight at the police bureau are coming from. The call is coming from inside the house, or in this case, from within the police bureau. Commissioner Hardesty's relationship with the Bureau goes back a very long way. It has always been adversarial. She began her career in public life as an advocate for more civilian oversight, for less police violence, for more accountability for police violence. The only change over the years is that now she has actual power to make changes happen, and she has.
Yeah, I think you've just summarized it totally. Like, even though she's not the police commissioner right now, as much as she may want to be, she still has a ton of power to bring about change within the bureau, within the police bureau, and she's using it. So really quickly, the first things that come to mind are she spearheaded the new police oversight board, and the hope there is to create, a much more forceful system to hold police accountable. Without her, I don't think we would have seen the $15 million in cuts to the police bureau budget last year. So yeah, like you said, she has power and she's using it. And what we're seeing is the not totally unexpected backlash. Here's what she said on Think Out Loud this week.
Well, let me be clear. I think the goal is intimidation, and it get me to back away from the transformation that I and this community is committed to. Is it going to change my approach? Am I planning to back away? No way, shape, or form.
So, yeah, I mean, you can hear she views this as intimidation by the police bureau.
And there is a nasty, it's not even a subtext right now to this, that Joanne Hardesty is a strong, outspoken Black woman who ran for office in an exceptionally white city, who is arguing for changes within a police bureau that historically has had a terrible relationship with Portland's Black community. It's the whole thing, let me be clear, Rebecca can't say this, I can. It's gross. Now, let's be clear. At OPB, we like leaks as much as the next group of scoop-hungry reporters. My email address is agriffin@opb.org. Drop me a line if you have juicy information that we need. But it should go without stating that police officers or anyone within a police department should not be leaking incorrect information clearly aimed at smearing the reputations of elected officials. So, Rebecca, what's the city going to do?
Okay, so there are two investigations going on here. One within the police bureau. So the police bureau has opened up an internals affair investigation into this leak. So that one's pretty narrowly focused. And then also the mayor has announced an outside investigation into the incident. And the scope of this one is still being debated between the mayor's office and Hardesty's office. Hardesty is pushing for an investigation that does way more than just find out who the leaker is, but will, actually go deeper and look into, her hope is, the role of white supremacy in the police bureau and any connection between officers and far-right media outlets. That is still being hammered out, though.
So there has been one bit of accountability in all this so far. The still relatively new head of the Portland Police Association, that is the union that represents rank-and-file officers, admitted this week to having made, quote, a mistake amid the hit-and-run investigation, and he has stepped down as union president. Any clue what that mistake might have been?
It is all I want to know, Anna, but I don't, and no one does, and it has been a few days now. Hardesty says she doesn't know. Wheeler says he doesn't know. I can't find anyone in City Hall who knows for sure. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation, but no one seems to know outside of the union right now. And both the mayor and Hardesty say they demand to know, but the former union head, Brian Hunsaker, hasn't said anything. The mayor was on Think Out Loud today and said he can't compel him to say anything. He also said, though, that if a police officer was responsible for the leak and they'd leaked it for a political purpose, whether this was Hunsaker or someone else within the bureau, he believes they should be fired.
I would see that as an extremely serious offense. It would be my preference to terminate such an individual because I do not believe such an individual has the character required to be a police officer.
The mayor also said, though, he might not have the power to fire the officer responsible for the leak, no matter how much he wants to, because of the union contract and all of the restrictions around how officers can be disciplined that come with that.
A union contract that is currently in negotiations. Yes. Fun timing for everyone involved. What is the timetable on the city investigations?
Great question, and one I think a lot of people have been asking. So the city's still working on the contract with the outside investigator. They haven't said who it is for sure yet. It seemed like there might be some news today on that front, but I haven't heard anything yet. So I think we're definitely a long way off from seeing the actual investigation. The city hasn't even figured out who's going to do it yet, so we'll see.
Thank you, Rebecca. We will have the results of that when they happen, eventually someday, and all the latest developments as they occur, because I feel like this story, the city's strange relationship with its police bureau, is not going away.
Thanks, Anna.
This episode of OPB Politics Now comes to you from the Gert Boyle studio at OPB. Kim Frieda produced the show. Nalene Silva is our audio engineer, and our music comes from Audio Network. You can find the latest on this story and all of our news on our website, opb.org. And there's one more important thing you can do there. Become a sustaining member of OPB. It is the single best way to support the work we do. We'll be back next week with more political news and analysis from Oregon and Washington. Until then, thanks for listening.